podcast. Yeah, it's the Steve Gunner Podcast. You're tuned in to the Steve Gunner Podcast. Get up, it's the Steve Gunner Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Steve Gunter Podcast, where we discuss the steps, the strategies, and the mindset of real estate investing tailor-made for the pro athlete. I'm your host, Steve Gunter, and it's an honor and privilege to be on with you today. Well, look, folks, today we have a very special guest on with us. We have on Mr. Skye Michiels. He's an award-winning real estate leader, speaker, and coach, empowering others to unlock their full potential by leading with kindness. He is the founder of a community called the 6AMers, which is a motivation and accountability group for entrepreneurs and professionals. He is the former head of coaching at Compass, and today, Mr. Skye serves as the founder and CEO for With Heart Coaching. Skye Michiels, what an honor it is to have you on today, my friend.
All the honor's mine, and I'm beyond thrilled to be on here and talk to you. So,
listen, look, there's so much for us to talk about today. And before we dive in, I would be remiss if I did not mention that here at the Compass community, we are just very grateful for you. I mean, you have done such an outstanding job of helping to develop the careers of agents across this entire country. And my gosh, man, I mean, you have so much to talk about in that world. I mean, you've helped people build a number of businesses, man. What do you attribute that to?
I think I attribute it back to the fact that I've always had this servant heart, and for a very long time, since a very early age on, I knew I wanted to give back. And I originally thought I was going to be a high school history teacher, and I was. Before I got into real estate and fell in love with that. So I think the thing that excites me is this ability to know that the more I become the light, the more I can give of the light. And it's a line I use often because I think sometimes I'm a recovering people pleaser. When I say I'm a recovering people pleaser, I try really hard not to attribute my happiness based on what others do. Right. People pleasing, so, oh, if they're happy, I'm happy. And it's a skill I've developed over the years, and I call it being the light, not giving the light. So in other words, the more I try to make sure I'm building myself up and working on myself and showing people my vulnerability, showing people where I'm struggling, but then showing them also how I'm overcoming it, the more people actually will learn from that than me just standing on stage telling people what to do, giving them, hey, do this, do this, do this. People don't learn like that. They actually learn through growing through inspiration. So I think I've had this unique ability to sort of be the light and not give the light. And through being the light, I inevitably allow people to discover their own. And like I said, it's been a journey. It still always is a journey of making sure I'm not being a people pleaser. I still work at that, and it'll always be one of those things. So I'm thrilled and I'm honored to be here, and I'm grateful for all the Compass people across the country that I consider friends and colleagues and coworkers, even though I'm not technically a Compass employee anymore. I still consider it still in my heart always.
Well, we miss you, and I'm sure we're going to still see you around, no doubt about it. But Skye, take me back to Poughkeepsie, New York. Yeah. You write about how your mother served as the early model for practicing happiness as opposed to chasing it. Yeah. What does it mean to practice happiness?
So we grew up, my mom was a single mom, me and I have an older sister and a younger sister, and we grew up poor. And like a lot of people out there in the world, you have this option every single day to either focus on what you don't have or focus on what you do have. And the story I like to tell about my mom is that I never knew we were poor until the day that we filled out forms. Like, even though we had like reduced lunch and free lunch at times, and I never felt poor. I never really knew we were poor. And then I remember the day that we were filling out the college application and the financial aid forms. She wrote down how much she made. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
And I was old enough to have an understanding. I was like, wait, that's what we live on? And it just shocked me. It blew me away. And my mom taught me to, no matter what is going on, no matter what's happening in your life, that there's always this bright, positive side that you can focus on. And trust me, there are struggles, right? There's moments of anger and hardship and all this. But throughout it all, when we stuck together and when we worked together and we loved each other, we were able to find massive levels of happiness that were not dependent upon economics.
Mm.
And I look back on my childhood, and I think it's a challenge now too as a parent. I have a 14 or 11-year-old, right? And it's like, how do we teach the struggles we had as kids, the lessons we learned through struggling as a child? But I don't want my kids to struggle the way I did. And I don't have the answer to this, by the way. This is like a challenge,
Yep.
right? Like how do we actually teach these great lessons that we learned, or we learned through this struggle? But yet I don't want my kids to struggle to learn it. And it's an irony when I look back. But my mom to this day is this woman that I say she exudes love. And everywhere that woman walks, there's like a trail of love, like coming off of her, whether it's animals or people or the community. And, my house was always that house that all my friends felt was like this safe haven, so my house was always the house that everyone came back to. Everyone was always hanging out at, just because of the fact that my mom created this feeling of love in that household that permeated not well beyond me, but into my friendships and all my teammates when I was playing sports and everything like that. So I attribute a lot of who I am today to my mom, and most of the lessons I've learned began in those early days, with everything that she taught us as kids. So.
When I read that line that that you have to practice happiness, it just, there was a light bulb that came on in my head, and it was, you know what? It is just like in everything, you have to work at it. Is that where you're going with that, Skye? That you have to.
Yeah, we don't want to work at it though.
Okay.
This is the key thing, right? Because work denotes like struggle. What we want to do is we want to play at it. And think about this, like, and I think the problem is, right, like we have these cell phones, and so we go onto Instagram. I bet most people are spending an hour on social media a day, if not more. So you're on social media and you're watching images of perfection, and your brain is sort of saying, wait, they're happy automatically. Why am I not happy? And what people don't understand is that happiness that's something you actually create. And once again, you practice that or you play at. And I think a lot of people don't understand that you actually need to understand like these things that whether it's meditation or working out or reading or playing with your kids or cooking dinner or eating healthy food, it's a million things that describe what happiness or what can create happiness for people. They don't realize that we actually have to practice at it or AKA play at it. Right. And I think in some ways, that's why I want to reframe it away from work, because we don't want to make it hard. We want to make it enjoyable, right? We don't want to grind. We want to play. We want to be in flow. Like Steve, you were an athlete. You were a football player. When you were on the field and you were thinking and like working hard, you weren't playing at your max. What position did you play, Steve?
I played DB.
Steve, great. Free safety as well. So when you know that flow you're in, you almost can predict where the quarterback's going to throw the ball.
Yep.
You almost could predict where the running back is going to break through because you're not even thinking. And I think that developed because in football, you practiced playing. So when you actually got on the field, you just were in flow. And I think that's a really great example that we can come back to with happiness, that what we need to do is we need to practice this in the early mornings or the evenings or when we have some free time. So when you're reading a self-help book or I'm journaling or I'm meditating, what I'm really doing is I'm practicing and getting ready to be in flow for the day, right? Because then in the day when I have that quote unquote running back or the wide receiver running at me, right? I'm just in flow.
Yeah.
I just go with them. I see the ball before it's even thrown. And I'm playing at this level that is almost like above everyone else because of the fact I practiced it. And imagine you're a football player, you just show up to the field, you get on the field, you're going to get run over. And I think that's unfortunately a lot of people in life, they don't recognize that we do need to practice and play at this. So when it comes into the everyday life, we're in flow. And the things that are thrown at us, the deals falling apart, our kids getting in trouble at school, our car breaking down, you name it, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's not even an issue. We're just in flow. That's just part of life. Right?
Skye, how important is it to get into that flow early in your day? You wake up, you've already mentioned meditation.
Yeah.
You know, perhaps, you know, some people do it early in the morning. I know I do. But how important is it to get into that flow early in the day, you know, as opposed to waiting until that moment comes when you feel it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a, you know, yeah.
It's too late. So, and once again, I want to stress this with, I think sometimes people use this line that I'm not a morning person as an excuse. You don't need to be a morning person to get into a flow in the morning, right? And to practice happiness in the morning. Because the reality is 1 minute of meditation is better than zero. The reality is 1 push-up is better than no push-ups. The reality is 1 page of reading is better than 0 pages of reading, right? You get the point.
Yeah.
So there's a world where we overthink what we need to do. We think we need to go work out for an hour at Orange Theory or, you know, kill ourselves in the gym. The reality is your body's meant to move in the morning. You're meant to get your blood going. Meditation. People grossly overthink meditation. How many of us drink a cup of coffee? Pour that cup of coffee, put it down, take a sip, and then you close your eyes for a minute. That's meditation. And I think this thing, what we need to do is we need to build structures and, once again, practices in the morning that allow us to play during the day in a really high level. So my recommendation to people out there is you want to build a routine that operates in crisis and in non-crisis moments, right? Meaning in crisis, like, oh my God, like I got a lot going on. You still have the ability to flex down. And there's a great book, The Miracle Morning. You know, I don't know if you ever read it. Great book, Elrod. So he talks, and it's a short read, quick read. And he talks about how his miracle morning can be done over an hour or over 6 minutes, right? He has a routine that he can do in 6 minutes where he reads for a minute, meditates for a minute, does push-ups for a minute, journals for a minute. You get the point, right?
Yep.
So, and I think in many ways too, that even that's probably too much. Like you could boil it down to just one thing in the morning that you're going to make sure you do every morning. And that's going to set you up for the rest of the day. So, you know, I think it's a really, really critical thing that people recognize the importance of starting your day. And let's be real. I'm holding up my cell phone for everyone right now. 99% of the world. And if you're listening right now or you're watching, ask yourself this question. Do I wake up, grab my cell phone, and immediately go into text, email, and or social media, or all three? If the answer is yes, you are immediately plunging yourself into stress, overwhelm, depression, like negativity first thing in the morning. So I want to challenge people out there. Steve, I don't know if this is you. I want to give you a challenge for 1 week. All you need to do is plug your cell phone in across the room.
Yep.
That's it. If you use it for the alarm, great. Turn the alarm off, leave it there. Get your cup of coffee, your glass of water, and then just literally that's all you do, and then go back up and get it. Just give yourself that 3-5 minutes of break before we dive into, I call it the 3-headed monster: text, email, social media.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing, Scott, for some people, you got their anxiety going up just the idea of sticking that phone across the room. But that's good. That is incredibly helpful. No doubt about it. So you grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yep.
And at one point in your life, you were a paper boy. I think you and I have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
Scott. Perhaps you were more successful as a paper boy than I was, though. But I'll let you talk about
Yeah.
your side first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like I said before, we grew up poor.
Yeah.
So at the age of 12, there's nothing, you can't work at like a movie theater or McDonald's or anything like that. Cause I can't remember. I think it was 14, whatever the minimum work age was, right? It was not 12.
Yep. Yep.
But being a paper boy was actually that was like, you're a 1099, you're a business.
Mm-hmm.
So the irony, I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 12. So at 12, I actually could be a paper boy. And once again, it wasn't just me. It was my mom and my sister also had a route. So three of us would wake up really early in the morning.
Yep.
And the tough thing, that if you were a paper boy,
Mm-hmm.
that it's 7 days a week,
Every
rain,
day.
shine, it was snow, whatever it is, you're delivering that paper and you hear it, they drop off the bundle on the
Yep.
like
Yep.
slam, and you're like, okay, here we go.
Skye, I got to cut you off right here, man. I would be so angry, Skye. I would be so angry having to get up and say, "Oh my goodness, I got to go deliver these papers." But that's what I thought at that age. But it was, now thinking back, I'm like, man, that was a great job.
Great job. Yeah. We got tips. We made good money for a 12-year-old. Let's be real.
I did.
That's pretty good money.
Yeah.
And, so I think it's the kind of thing, though, what it did for me, though, is it solidified this idea that I could wake up early before everyone else.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the mornings a little bit because it was so quiet, right? You're delivering that paper. There's no one awake, and it also gave in me a little bit of a work ethic that I think really helped me throughout high school, college, and into my life, in the sense that my friends were all sleeping in their beds. And then I'm out in the snow delivering papers.
Yep.
And this is a good example of my mom, right, teaching us that no matter what was going on, you always, not that you always need to be happy. I'm not saying like I was out there in the snow and I was like, yay. But I always made the best of it, right? I always, was like, okay, it's snowing. Here we go. Let's get after it. You know what I mean? And I think that really, really helped me it definitely helped me as an athlete. And it definitely helped me as a student in school, and it definitely helped me now in my, my current life as well. I still think, I'm sure you'd think back to that time frame too, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
It was a great experience. And I actually did it. I think I'd have to check my mom. I think it was about 3 years I did it. So.
Oh, that's a good length of time.
Good length of time. Yeah. So, and it was great, like I said, it taught me a lot of lessons, and I made a lot of money doing it too.
Yeah. Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
So now let's transition to your time at Syracuse.
Yeah.
So now you're in sport, you're on a rowing team, and I imagine, I mean, first of all, the physical requirements for that particular sport is, I know that is something. But talk a little bit about what you learned about discipline and commitment and all of those valuable principles that you get from being a part of a team like that.
Yeah. Crew, first of all, crew rowing, it's the ultimate team sport because of the fact, like football, I played football as well in high school.
Yeah.
Football is a team sport, but you could also really dominate with one really great player. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I when I was playing, Ed Adams was you kick the ball to this kid, he's running a touchdown.
It's done.
So anyways, in college though, when I rowed in high school and then in college, crew is the ultimate team sport because you have a 60-foot boat that's about maybe 18 inches wide. You have 6'5", or I'm 6 foot, so I'm short, right? You have 6 foot to 6'5", 6'6" guys, 220 to 250 pounds moving in this boat with 15-foot oars. If you're not in sync with your team, you're not going anywhere. Like you're not doing anything, and then you have the coxswain, the guy in the back of the boat that's really guiding you all. So one of the key things I learned about discipline is that discipline is easy when you're surrounded by community.
That's rich.
Discipline is easy when you surround yourself with community. Discipline is really hard when you isolate yourself. There's David Goggins, some really extreme people can be very disciplined on their own. But let's be real, we're human beings. We're communal people. And anyone that's listening to this, if you need discipline, create a community. And that's what really crew taught me. I didn't row because I love being on the water at 5 a.m. in Syracuse, New York in March when it was snowing. I rowed because of the fact that Pat Doughton and Jamie Bettini and Joe Buffano and all my guys, Jay Hill, I could go down the line and name them all, right? I got up because there was no way in hell I was letting them down. There's no way that I would. I just got chills thinking of the idea of letting my brothers down. And that's the kind of thing that I think if you're out there and you're trying to create discipline and you're doing it alone, it's possible. Man, it's hard. The other thing I learned about discipline is fun when you have a community. Right? You know this from being on the football team. How much fun was it to be on a team? The joking around, the best part was the ride to and from practice. You didn't talk about, if anyone outside of you was listening, they would be like, what are they talking about? But internally, we were dying laughing. To this day, we tell the same jokes that we told to this day. So I think this concept of discipline, we're taught it's this really, really hard thing. But it's really hard when you're alone. And so for anyone on this call, one of the things that I think I'd recommend for everyone is actually learn how to find a community or create a community. And anything you want to accomplish, whether it's losing weight, not drinking, whether it's being a great parent, being meditating, you name it, find a community, have fun with that community, and your discipline is easy.
How important is discipline to success? Better put, is it even possible to achieve success without discipline?
It's possible if you're consistent. And I guess they go hand in hand. Like, I guess so to answer the question, you actually can achieve success without discipline, but I'm going to reframe that in the sense that discipline with consistency, and they go hand in hand. Consistency sort of is discipline, right? That's the key to success. So you could do real estate's a great example. You could door knock, you could do sphere of influence, you could do internet leads, like anything works as long as you're disciplined, right? And or consistent. So I think there's this world where they go hand in hand. So you can be successful without discipline because it is possible. I think we do see this in real estate, right? There are definitely realtors who are quote unquote successful without the discipline, but they probably have discipline in personal relationships, or it's hidden deep down. But I do think there's a really, really big world where consistency is the ingredient to success that people just really, really miss. And I think we overthink what we need to do. Like I said, for most people to get in shape, they don't need to go run a marathon. They need to go walk a mile a day, every day. Right? You don't need to go on these extreme diets and fast for 3 days and just drink water. You actually just need to, eliminate processed food from your diet. Right. Little things that we need to do, but then we got to do it consistently. And that's what really creates that success that everyone is craving, So.
When you got into the real estate business, I think it was 2002 when you got your license. What was the market like at that particular point in time? What level of consistency did you have to display in order to begin to build a career at that particular point in time?
I feel really, really blessed to have gotten in when I did in 2002. The market at that time was on the beginning of a really, really rapid rise, meaning in a good way. And when you think of inventory levels today, they were double back then what they were. And the mortgage, I don't know, when did you get in, Steve?
I got in 2011.
Great. So you got in after all these really, really 100% mortgages. right? Subprime and everything like that. So basically, if you had a pulse, you got a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So 2002 to 2006, 7, pretty much everyone was buying a house. Everyone, right? And so I was very lucky because I was a teacher. I graduated from Syracuse. I became a high school history teacher. I only started doing real estate for a side gig. I wanted a little extra money.
Yep.
I graduated from college and I was still poor
Yep.
as a
Yep.
teacher, right? So I still needed a little extra money. And I fell into it and I was like, I fell in love with it. And it was really successful, but I wasn't convinced it was real. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I had to almost convince myself, like, wait, I went to 5 years of a college. I have a master's degree, and I'm going to actually leave that to go sell houses at 100% commission.
Yeah.
And growing up poor, all I craved growing up was stability, and I created it. Right? I had the job, I had the health insurance, I had the benefits, I had the retirement, and I'm going to leave that for 100% commission selling houses.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I really needed a lot of time to convince myself that it was real before I left. So I feel really lucky to have gotten in 2002 because it's way more challenging now because of where the inventory levels are just really, really low, historically low right now. So the number of transactions are lower. And then B, it's much harder for buyers to get a mortgage, and therefore, it's the way it should be, by the way. The way it should be, it shouldn't be easy to get 100% mortgage of $400,000 like that,
Sure.
Thank God we corrected that. But at the end of the day, it does make it a little more challenging today getting in as opposed to 2002. So,
Skye, you said something though that just caught my attention. So you were a history teacher and you were doing real estate part-time, just to supplement your income, make a little bit more money. Obviously growing up the way that you did, I would imagine that stability was really important to you at that particular time. But then at some particular point, you made a mental shift and embraced risk fully.
yeah.
And opted out of stability
Yeah.
for risk.
Yeah.
What was going on in your mind, man?
Well, I think, you go back into this world where when you learn that happiness is not money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to almost like remove that stability, because there are lots of periods of my life where I've actually done the same thing.
Mm.
Right. So, and I can detail them, but I think many people are afraid of losing stability. So therefore they're stuck.
Yeah.
And when you develop the ability to not be afraid of the future, right? And when you develop an ability to say, you know what, I'm always going to bet on me, it allows you to take risks that other people won't. And a good example of that for me was back when I was at Keller Williams, and I was one of the original owners of a really successful KW office, and we had built it up, and we were launching title companies and mortgage companies, we were doing the thing. In 2018, Compass came to town, and they wanted me to be the managing director for Philadelphia, and in other words, help launch it. And I basically made a really risky decision in 2018. Compass, remember, was only 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was at an office in a company, KW, was very established, very successful.
Yep.
I was on the pathway, right? And I was getting a divorce. There were other factors involved in the decision. But at the end of the day, I made a decision that I was going to go with this brand new company called Compass, that everyone around me said, you're crazy to do this. This is, you're committing career suicide. They're going to be bankrupt in a year.
Mm-hmm.
They're burning cash. You've heard it, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I left basically everything I built to go build this next company, and I will forever be grateful to Robert and the leadership team, Rob Lehman, who's doing another venture now, and all these great people, Rory Galad, right? All these amazing people that took the risk to form Compass, and then to this day are continuing to forge it forward.
Yeah.
And then 2 months ago, I took another risk. I was in a great job, and I took a risk that I was going to create a coaching company.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to leave stability and once again, go create a coaching company. The good news and bad news is that I'm very comfortable taking risk and betting on myself. And at the end of the day, I have the ability. Don't get me wrong. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety when you do
Mm-hmm.
this. You don't do this without that fear and stress and anxiety. And I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning at night and be like, "Oh my God, I got to pay my bills." you know,
That's right.
and imposter syndrome, right?
Yep.
Like, it's really hard. And when I went to Compass, it was very difficult to see, KW posting stuff on social media. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, we didn't have an office. We were in a WeWork. So you really need to battle imposter syndrome when you take risks. So
Mm-hmm.
anyone on this that's listening to this, if you're debating a big decision or you're taking a risk or you took a risk, you need to almost like have a piece of paper right there that when you feel imposter syndrome, you just write it down and you ignore it or you burn it or you throw it out in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going through this a little now, right? I launched a coaching company and then I'm looking at other coaches and their websites or their programs or what
Yep.
they're offering. And I'm like, oh my God, my website is nowhere near what theirs is.
Yep.
But I always got to then bring myself back to earth and say, I'm going to be where my feet are. A coach that has been doing it for 20 years, I'm not there. I'm not going to compare myself to that. What I'm going to compare myself is to a coach who's doing it for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, where I'm at in 2 months, I'm thrilled with it. So,
Let's talk about fear, though.
yeah.
I think that's a great topic. In fact, how do you relate to fear, Skye? Do you find yourself resisting it at times? Do you always recognize it and embrace it? What are your thoughts about?
Great
Yeah.
question. You know, the reason you need to practice around happiness is because you're going to feel fear, imposter syndrome, negativity, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want is you want the ability to have a practice to fall back on. So when I feel fear, the first thing I do, Steve, is I give myself grace to feel it.
Mm.
I think what a lot of people do when they feel fear is they almost say, I shouldn't feel this. I'm going to grind through this. I'm going to just, no, throw all that out and say, give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? You took a big risk, or you're doing something that's big, or you're fearful of whatever it is you're fearful of. The first step, give yourself grace and accept that feeling and be in it. And that's okay to give yourself the time to feel it and be in it. What's not okay is to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's almost like you're going to jump up onto a block. If you're standing and you try to jump, you're not going to get there. What you need to do is you need to gather yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel fear, give yourself grace, feel it, and gather yourself, right? Almost like go backwards a little bit or get into that, ready, crouching down or ready to explode.
Yep.
And then you go to your practice, I go to my workout or meditation. For me, I always go back into like working out. If I'm good physically, I'm really, really well armored against the emotional things that are going to come my way. And then I'm like powerful. So your bounce back from fear can either be really weak or really powerful. And I've gone through this over the last 2 months, right? Like I shot out of the gate and I was all excited. I didn't give myself time to really grieve or mourn or feel that fear. And then about a week after I left Compass and I was building everything, I was hit with this like crazy sadness over like the ending of a chapter and fear. Like, oh my God, like I got to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, I got some money in savings, but I can you're putting money out for websites and programs and support. And
That's right.
Money was like flying.
That's right.
I was like, oh my God. So I gave myself a couple of weeks to feel it. Right. And to be in that emotion and then really go back into like my practice. So for me, it's always goes back to working out or being physically fit, eating well, journaling and meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And I do those things. Then all of a sudden I slowly felt myself really coming out of it. And now I'm in that like explosion mode where things are just starting to happen. And I think that's the biggest thing about fear is that we can't if we can't ignore it, because I call this putting a happy face sticker on a piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
it's there. Like
Yep.
just don't
It's
put a
right
happy
there.
face sticker on it. Don't
Yep.
put the happy face sticker on it.
Yep.
It's still gonna smell like shit.
Yep.
Right? Like look at it, be like, all right, it's there. Let me get rid of it and then move forward.
I think Jim Collins refers to that as the confronting the brutal facts.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And for me too, like this has been really great because like one of the brutal facts I had to confront, is the fact that I spent money like really poor. I didn't have a budget.
Yep.
I didn't, I was like, I went back and now my sister's helping me with like financial management
Yep.
and wellness and everything like that.
Yep.
So the nice thing about those moments you feel fear is you always actually experience massive growth on the other side of it. So like now I'm like finally keeping a budget. I'm canceling, subscriptions I've been paying for years.
Sure.
I just didn't know because I didn't even look.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's one of those things that I feel this like massive growth that's happening within me. And I think that's the thing to remind yourself when you feel fear, give yourself grace, gather yourself, get into a position of strength, and then know that the other side of it is going to be really, really explosive and filled with growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to be the thing that sort of you always want to keep that. That's the vision. That's the direction. That's what we're going towards. All right. Be in the moment, be where my feet are, but no, I'm getting ready to explode. I'm coming at it. Do you know what I mean?
I do. You talk about this very interesting concept that is widely known, especially in our social media age, of hustle culture, and that version of success. But you stress more so the idea of community building as opposed to embracing hustle culture. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So hustle culture is this mindset that if you're not grinding and working 12, 15 hours, if you're not doing these things that no one else is doing, on like all this stuff that's like really hard and frankly really isolating and frankly not very healthy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's success. Right. And we need to battle this mindset. And I'll take awards in real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, some areas, like there's these awards for doing sales and all this stuff. But what we don't realize is like that reward is meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
It's like who cares about some trophy?
Yep.
The real goal in life is to actually feel happiness and be healthy.
Yep.
Right. And once again, create community. That's what we were born to do. We were born to be happy and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And the hustle culture, unfortunately, creates this mindset that if I'm not like working myself to the bone, like I'm not successful.
Yep.
And I think we really need to redefine that in American culture and especially in the real estate culture as well. And I think we need to redefine what it means to be successful. And I wish we could give awards, A, to the happiest person, and B, to the person who has the best tax return. Right?
Right.
That should be the real estate award ceremony. Is it, hey, okay, Steve, here you're the happiest person in real estate.
Yep.
Hey, Steve, you got the best tax return.
Yep.
With the most residual income from investment properties.
Sure.
And right? You paid your quarterlies. Great. Here's let's give an award for every agent that pays their quarterly taxes.
Right.
Yes, that's like a good example. And instead, I think we're rewarding this hustle culture where, go out and buy that really fancy car because it's going to look really good on social media.
Yeah.
But don't pay your quarterly tax returns.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm speaking from experience.
Sure.
This is I don't want to be up here saying like, oh, this is me, I'm great. Right. Like I've in my career filed my taxes on time. I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I've owed back taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, liens filed on me in the past, like because I didn't pay taxes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Stupidity. And I was in that hustle culture. I was in this culture where I was like, I want to be number one.
Yeah.
And I look back on it and I was like, so stupid to pursue this trophy.
Yep.
To be number one. And I got it, by the way. You know where it is?
Sure.
It's in my basement collecting dust.
Skye, you touched on a subject there that is very that I can resonate with very closely. I can remember too when I was doing that, man. I remember earlier in my career, I was doing that. I'm chasing this lead. I'm chasing this customer. I'm trying to get this going. I'm trying to do this. Always trying.
Yeah.
And I would wake up super early, you know, don't get much rest, go to bed super late, not eating well, not working out. You know, my relationship with my wife was not good at the time. It
Yeah.
was just not a good time. And it wasn't until I went to the doctor, in fact, and the doctor said, Steve, you have got to change some things.
Yeah.
You know, you got high blood pressure, and you're a young guy. Well,
Athlete.
I wasn't. It wasn't full high blood pressure, but I was there. I was
Yeah.
basically there, and it was. I was running myself in the ground, trying to, you know, do what I thought was what you're supposed to do
That's
in building a business. Long story short, today I don't do that. And you know, who would have known? Who would have thought that the business is far better than what it was when I was doing that? And so, I mean, you hit on a very valid point.
So that's it. And I think what you highlighted is that we actually attract more when we're balanced and calm and
Mm,
right. And I think
yeah,
like Steve, you illustrated this point where you were chasing
yeah,
and trying, and that's like this form of what I call like resistance, right? This is like energy work. When you're resisting,
mm,
it's so much harder to get to where you want to go.
yeah,
Whereas when you allow yourself to just free fall and go,
yeah.
and like I said, so it's not to say that you're not going to work, right? It's not to
Sure,
say that
sure.
people should wake up and just go, not do yoga and never call a client back or anything like that. But what it's to say is, I've used this term in the 6 Amers. We call it being healthy selfish. You got to prioritize your health, and that when I say health, I'm not talking about just working out or like financial health and your family health and your relationship health. That has to be your number one priority, and then work,
Hmm.
right? And how can we fit work into our health versus our health into work, right? And that's like this thing that I think we got to change the narrative. And my hope is that people like me and you can, stand in front of people and say, listen, if you're grinding and you're hustling and you're number one and you're, getting your kids hate you and your wife leaves you and you're
Hmm.
doing all this stuff, like you got to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. When you're on your deathbed,
Yeah,
none of this is going to matter, right? Your
yeah.
community is going to matter. Your impact is going to matter. What you did for your children is going to matter,
I love
and
that.
that's it, man. And it's a shame. I think we got a chance, my hope is we got a chance to really impact the younger generations. Cause my fear is they're seeing this on Instagram and TikTok and all this, and they're really being fed these messages. We got to build some strong role models right now,
Hmm.
really combat some of the messages our children and the younger generations are being taught.
You know, you started 6 a.m.ers, and you talked very briefly about it. I would love for you to kind of go into a little bit more detail about it. But uh, I've spoken to so many agents within Compass who have just they have talked about how much that has helped them in their entire career. And before they came to Compass, they didn't have anything like that.
Yeah.
And then diving into that program and the insights they were able to glean, the relationships that they were able to develop. You know, what made you start something like that? And did you already have the vision of what the 6 a.m.ers would be, or did it evolve
Yeah.
into that?
Yeah. So I'll start with the last piece. So in 2017, I was getting divorced, and it was an amicable divorce, and I have an amazing co-parenting relationship with my ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
We co-parent probably better than anyone I know. In a lot of ways, we still have our times, right?
Sure,
Like she
sure.
still gets mad at me. I'll still get annoyed with her, stuff like that, right? Like any
Yeah.
relationship. But overall, our kids know that they're our number one, and we do holidays. Anyways, 2017 though, I was in the process, and I was in a bad space. I was eating and drinking and just not,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of myself and just stressed and like worried and fearful. I mean, it was everything. And so one of my best friends at the time, he was one of my business partners, Jake Dreyfus. I was talking to him and just complaining and telling him everything. He's like, listen, and we followed a guy named Jocko Wilnick.
Yeah.
Meet Jocko.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jocko would post a picture. He used to post a picture of his watch every single morning, right? At 4:34, he'd get up, just post a picture.
Yep.
So Jake was like, hey, I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to wake you up and I want you to go work out or, just take care of yourself. So we did this for about a month and it was like life-changing. Once again, I had my community, even though it was the only community of 2. So at the end of that month, and this is going back to like 2017 or so, he's like, what if we did this? Like, let's see if anyone else wants to join us. So we kick an email out to our office and, we had 10 people join us for 2 months, and we would do a Zoom call like twice a week. So basically we set a goal, we read a book, and we would do 2 Zoom calls at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And that back then, the Zoom calls, we would just hop on and talk a little bit and then get off and go about our day. But it was 5 a.m.
Yeah.
That was early.
Yep.
Anyways, more and more people started finding out about it and we just started spreading it a little bit. So when I went to Compass, we actually still had the group going. But then Jake moved to Colorado. I was at Compass and, it sort of just lost its steam and it, still the Facebook still exists. The group still exists on Facebook today. Mm-hmm. And I still know dear friends from it as well. So I go to Compass, start building, Compass in Philadelphia. And then if you remember March of 2020, there's a little thing called COVID. Mm-hmm. And so we go home. It was in the middle of the month in March. And, 2 weeks, we'll be home. So we were thinking about back then, like the happy hours and the Netflix shows and gyms were closed. I'm like, why work out? Right.
Yep.
I remember towards the end of March, just being so incredibly frustrated and just frustrated myself. Like, why can't I stop drinking? Or why can't I go to bed earlier, get up earlier? Like, I just didn't really know what to do. And it was really scary at that time, especially in Pennsylvania. I don't know. Every state was a little different in it.
Yep.
But we were in the thick of it and we couldn't leave our house basically, like you barely could leave your house. So how were we going to make a living? Like what was going to happen? It was all this fear. So at the end of March of 2020, I made a decision. I was like, you know what? I'm going to redo 5 Amers. I'm going to call it 6 Amers, because of the fact that it's COVID. So, let's get up at 6. We don't have to get up really.
Right.
But okay, so 6 is early enough. And in hindsight, I actually love that because 6 a.m. is that early time.
Yep.
But it's in reach for most people.
Right.
5 a.m. is,
you
got to be a morning person.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you do.
Anyway, so I started it, sent an email out to my roster in Philadelphia, and we had about 50-ish people join up. And I just basically replicated the model, right? Mm-hmm. We read a book. We did 2 Zoom calls. The one tweak I made was I started interviewing people on the Zoom calls. And so we set a 1-word intention. And so it started up in April 2020 in Philly. And the next month, a sales manager in Boston, Chris Thoman, was like, hey, I want to do it. So I was like, cool. He emailed his people. So then Boston got in, and then New York got in. So every month it just started to grow and grow. Yeah. And I did it for 4 years. 4 years. It grew out into the West Coast. We launched a West Coast one. So, and we started this interview talking about discipline and consistency. The reason this group was successful was because of the fact that I showed up consistently, and I was disciplined enough to maintain what it took to build this community of people. And it's a great example of being the light and not giving the light. Mm-hmm. And all I did was show up and be as powerful and vulnerable as a presence as I could. From there, other people got inspired and started creating connections within the group and meeting people. And the friendships that have been created within the 6 Amers are some of the most powerful friendships and connections I've ever seen in real estate or in life. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
These people are brothers and sisters and would do anything for each other.
Oh, the 1,000%. The connections are real. And I mean, you can go to a sales meeting or an event and someone will shout out, hey, where are my 6 a.m.ers at? And everybody, whoa, I mean, it's like a party and it's pretty cool to see. It really is. I mean, deep connections, and there's a culture even within that group across the country.
It is. And it's something I'm really proud of, and I'll always carry that pride with me, for the rest of, probably the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And, with this coaching company, I actually have learned a lot of lessons from running the 6 Hammers that I'm now applying. So the first program I'm launching is a program called the Happier Human.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Happier Human is there's some similar elements, but a lot of wrinkles that are different. But one of the things that I loved was when the whole country came together. So I sort of had an East Coast and a West Coast group. So now you can join. There's going to be 2 calls on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. East Coast, 2 p.m. East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And this way you can choose to join either one, and it's going to allow people from all across the country to meet each other. So the community is going to be really tight and really strong. The other thing with 6 Hammers, I never really had the time to create interactions. So everything I do is going to be built on creating this community.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have a post, I'm reading it right now, but commitment, community, accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to basically create a big community. We're going to make a commitment, and the community is going to help us keep our commitments and be accountable. And it's called the Happier Human, and it's all designed to teach people how to be happy in their personal life and their business life.
Yep.
And 3 core values of the With Heart Coaching Company are happiness, healthiness, humanness. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are 3 core values to everything we do.
I love that. With Heart Coaching, is that for the entrepreneur, any
Right.
business professional, or is it, who are you speaking to?
Yeah. So I called my former real estate team was called Real Estate with Heart. This is way back in 2013. I formed it, and it was an amazing team. And I formed it back then because it stood for the value of caring about people.
Yeah.
So now when I was building this company and trying to get ready to go out and, trying to figure out a name, I knew a lot about the coaching industry.
Yep.
Right. And if you think, Steve, name some coaching companies that are out there. Would name you offhand? Name some of them.
Tom Ferriss.
Great. Tom Ferry.
Tom
Brian
Ferry. Thank you. Brian, I forget the last name.
Buffini, right?
Yes.
So you can
Yes.
go down the line.
Sure.
What do they all have in common? They're a man's name.
Yep.
This industry, let's be real, it's not really made up of men. The majority of realtors are women, number one. The other thing in this coaching industry, it is highly unrepresented with diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Black,
Mm-hmm.
Asian,
Mm-hmm.
you name it, Hispanic. How many people are out there of color that are coaching? And we need to change this.
Yeah.
So if I called it Skye Michiels Coaching Company or coaching,
I see. Yep.
I need to be in front of the room at all times.
Yep.
So I called it With Heart Coaching because of the fact that I want to be able to create a company that can help many industries, not just real estate. And I want to be able to lead from the back of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it's almost like having a compass, right? Compass is a brand, but you can build your brand above Compass.
Sure.
So in other words, someone could coach, keep their name, their brand, while having With Heart help them with all the back end and everything else. So there's a world where eventually I would love it if no one even knew who I was.
Yeah.
Right. Because of the fact that we have hundreds of coaches out there who are representing themselves and their communities in what they do. And all I'm doing is actually propelling them forward.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously launching this, I'm going to be in the front of the room right now, but I'm working very, very hard to make sure everything that we do revolves around caring about people and revolves around making sure that we create representation in this coaching community that is real representation, not just lip service. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you foresee With Heart Coaching also holding at some point conferences, get-togethers, events, things of that sort?
Yeah. So tomorrow, actually, so on May 8th, it will be our first Happier Human call. And by the way, people can join any month and it's open to anyone. So the Happier Human is a program that's open to all people, right? Mm-hmm. That community is humanity. On top, underneath that, I'm building out 2 real estate programs as well. But then the hope is as we move forward here, I'm going to be building out a program that hope someone else from the mortgage industry will run for mortgage people. But we're always going to have these ideals of running a relationship-based business, right? And then obviously the goal will be to create in-person events. One of the things we're going to do with the Happier Human is on the third Thursday of every month, I'm going to challenge every member of the Happier Human community to do something in person with other people. Doesn't mean you need to do it with people of Happier Human, but like if you're a real estate professional, go for a hike and invite your past clients, or go play golf and invite some people or do stuff that connects us as human beings.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually I have a dream of that third Thursday maybe is all about volunteering, or maybe you're right. The cool thing is I get to create from scratch here.
Yep.
So it's going to be a really, really fun opportunity. The other thing about the Happier Human is that when I was creating it, I wanted to create something that made you had a little bit of skin in the game, that you were, committed to it. Right. So I didn't want it to be free, but I also didn't want it to be a high ticket price where coaching became available for everyone.
Right.
And I thought about it like, all right, the price, a cup of coffee costs $3, let's say. So I was like, all right, if this program is $100, it's basically you get business and life coaching and a community for the price of a cup of coffee a day.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there buys a cup of coffee every single day, you should really make sure you're investing in yourself, your happiness, your health, and creating and being part of a community. Because when you're part of a community, discipline, we talked about it, it's easy, right?
That's
when
good.
you have a tough time, you got people to lean on. When you want to be motivated, you reach out. We need to learn something, you ask. So community is everything, in my opinion. So
I love that. Where would someone find you at, Skye?
Great. So first off, the website is withheartcoaching.com. So nice and easy. You can find me on Instagram, which is at SKYEMICHIELS. So it's spelled a little differently on Instagram. Or you could email me at skye@withheartcoaching.com.
Excellent. Man, I tell you, the wealth of the nuggets that you dropped today, I mean, very valuable. I mean, thank you so much, Skye. Really appreciate your time today, sir. Any last bit of words you would like to leave the audience with?
I want to challenge every person listening to this to recognize that you were born to be happy, to be healthy, and to be more connected as a human being to yourself and other people in your community. And every day I want you to wake up and I want you to practice being happy for those moments where maybe it's not so natural. So
love it. Mr. Skye Michiels, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, my friend. It's an honor.
Absolutely.
Honor. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
We can't stop, we can't lose, you can't win if you snooze. So do more and say less. So get up and let's work and be the best. Yeah, you're tuned in to the Steve Gunner Podcast. Yeah, the Steve Gunner Podcast. You're tuned in to the Steve Gunner Podcast. Get up, it's the Steve Gunner Podcast.